What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday to you all. Coming at you here live today for a pretty special live training that I have planned for you all here in this group to kick off Thursday itself. So in today's live training, we're going to be talking about the 4 buckets to organic growth, really the 4 buckets to creating 6-figure organic growth, 4 areas that you should always be aware of within your business as the owner and the CEO of your business, looking down and seeing what area deserves your most the attention or the most focus right now is going to make the biggest difference on your business as a whole. So we're going to talk about what these 4 buckets are, how to identify which of these 4 is leaking within your business, aka leaking cash and profit within your business itself, how to patch and repair that, identify it, and really what is the most important thing to keep in mind when working to grow your business to those initial 10K months and 6-figure years. So with all that said today, as we kick things off, for those of you joining me, here as I am on the live, drop a hashtag live below and let me know. We'll get right into things here soon. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here shortly and dive into today's presentation. New camera setup going on today. A little bit more zoomed in than most, but quality is probably the best that I've been able to refine it to. So let me know what you guys think of the camera quality in here now. Little workaround to be able to stream at this quality. Normally Facebook caps off the limit at a certain quality itself, but I have this new capture card and camera setup that's allowing me to kind of stream at a higher resolution frame rate to give you guys the utmost best quality here on this live training today. So I want to dive right into things today and get started with it. So let's switch over to my screen and let's get into it. So when we look at the big picture of growing an online business, there's really 4 buckets that it really comes down to, especially if you're working to grow organically. And if we're not aware of these 4 buckets, it's very easy for us to guess on what area deserves our focus. Feel free to let me know in the comments for you guys, when you are growing your own online business, as you're growing your online business now, when things aren't going the way that you want, what do you typically look for to find that problem and resolve it? When you aren't getting the results that you want, when things don't feel like they're just going in the way that you want, you're kind of losing your mojo in your business, what's the first thing that you look at to say, okay, this is the problem, this is what I'm going to do to solve this problem, here's the solution, and this is what I'm going to focus on to create that solution? Do you guys do anything right now to identify this within your business and really start to repair these bottlenecks as you're continuing to grow? Let me know in the comments below. What we're going to kind of do here to start is run through these 4 components. Then I want to talk about really the most important areas of focus in addition to these itself. And I have one kind of special announcement to share with you here at the end as well. So when we look at the first component here, list. Obviously, in order for us to be able to monetize an audience and make money online, we have to have a list of people to provide value to talk to, and to present offers to. Without the list of people, it's very hard for us to make sales. So depending on where you guys are at with your business, you may be in the beginning stage of just growing your list, or many of you in this group are also at the stage where you've been growing your list for some time now and maybe not monetizing it to the level that you want to. This is probably one of the most common things that I see. Members get to, let's say, 1K, 2K per month. They've been growing their list for 6 months to a year time, but they're not monetizing it in a way that they should be doing it effectively. They're really essentially their bucket, the money bucket, which we're going to get to here shortly, is leaking. And although their list is in a good spot, they're just not monetizing it correctly. We're going to talk about this here in the presentation. But the point is, in this first bucket, this is really just about your audience. Where's your friends list at? How many group members do you have? Are you doing outside interviews? Are you posting in target groups to grow your list? All of these things can be solutions towards your list problem. So if you know that your list is lacking or leaking, that bucket, let's say the list is your weakest bucket right now, you have a friends list of 200 friends, your Facebook group's tiny, you don't have many people in your audience, this is where, aside from your daily non-negotiables, as we're going to talk about here in a second, this should really be the bucket that you're putting extra emphasis on, because it all starts here. Consider this like the top of the funnel where it shows list. If you don't have people in your audience, if your friends list is super low, if you don't have Facebook group members and you're running a Facebook group, and you don't have many people in your audience as a whole, this just goes to show you need to look at this and say, okay, if I'm struggling to create opportunities and convert sales, Is my audience at a spot where it is growing? Are there people within it? Is there people in my audience that know me, like me, and trust me? If no, if you feel like maybe you've kind of depleted your audience or you're just in the stages of growing it, this is where you should be putting kind of an extra emphasis or focus towards creating some inputs and goals to actually grow that audience. So like I mentioned, maybe it's posting in target Facebook groups. Maybe it's replying to comments in target Facebook groups, doing outside interviews in other groups or on podcasts, other sources that are all basically creating backlinks towards you and your profile and your brand. The more that we can get ourselves out into other places where our target audience hangs out, the more that we're going to create omnipresence and really get people to see us, know us, and get to know us in ways that we didn't have the mass of people knowing us before. As you build that list and start providing value, documenting your journey, sharing your story, you'd be surprised at how quickly things can progress to the point where you can actually monetize that list, monetize that audience, and convert it into sales. Because you have a list of people that are following you on your journey, that are seeing how you went from struggle to these results and this growth. And they're going to want a piece of that and want to learn how they can do the same or learn from you to do the same itself. Which brings us to bucket number 2. And we're going to recap and kind of pull all these together at the end. Reason I pulled these down is just so we're kind of focusing on one at a time here. So I'm going to pull this bucket number 2 up and we're going to talk about the value bucket. So we just talked about the list bucket. Again, this is primarily for those of you in the beginning stage that maybe don't have many people in your audience right now and are really working to get that foundation down. In order to make sales, we have to grow that list. This can also come into play for people that maybe have neglected their list for some time. Maybe they grew it and they did a hard promotion on a new offer that they rolled out and they haven't really been adding friends or bringing new people into their audience, and they kind of feel like leads are a little bit slow and low right now. Perhaps the list could use some extra attention in replenishing that and growing that and bringing new people in. Now, behind that list bucket, the next most important bucket is going to be value. Because in order to take people on our list and convert them to fans and buyers in our business, we have to provide value to do that. So this is kind of a twofold bucket. This value bucket is really about building trust with your list. Doing trainings like this in your own Facebook group or on your own profiles. Doing interviews in other groups, your target groups, whatever it may be. Providing value to your audience or members of people within your ideal audience itself. And doing it in a way where you're just giving without expecting a return. This can also include offering PDFs, cheat sheets, freebies, live trainings, recorded trainings. Getting an understanding of who these people are on your list and really honing in on what you can do to provide value to them and support them on your journey. Part of that's documenting your own journey and sharing what you struggled with early on and showing how you broke past it, providing trainings on that. Because oftentimes what we struggled with early on in our own journey is something that's people that are a level below us in our list are struggling with that very exact same thing right now. And this is why I always recommend, even when creating offers and trying to hone in on like, how can we stand out from the crowd more with our offers and be more specific with them? Ask yourself either what you're currently struggling with right now or what you struggled with in the past. Because if you look at those two areas, when you look at things that just come easy to you, perhaps maybe content's super easy for you to do, but having conversations with people is pretty difficult. When it comes to content, if that's easy for you to do, it's going to be harder for you to understand where people are getting stuck at with it, how it's difficult, why they're struggling with it. Because you yourself, it felt natural to you, it felt second nature. But if you found something that you struggled with and you really focused on being a master at that thing, or you had something that you were struggling with in the past, let's say having conversations, and you really took these next 3 to 6 months to hone in on this skill and really develop it and learn how to do it correctly, and you got that down, now it's so much easier for you to come back and share that transformation to your audience, share your story, provide value around that, and show them how you went from being just like they were, struggling to have conversations, struggling to know how to move the conversations, getting ghosted messenger, to now things flow naturally, they feel comfortable, you're converting sales consistently, etc. This is where we can really show that transformation and emphasize that within our marketing and sales process to show members of our audience, hey, I was in your shoes before, and here's how I got to where I am now. So without going too off track on this value bucket here, what we want to think about is this is the bucket that's moving people from our list and taking them from being cold and unfamiliar with us and not knowing us to being more and starting to trust us and getting to know us and wanting to learn more about how we can help them. As we provide value to members in our list, this is where really kind of the next two heavily important buckets come into play. So the next bucket is going to be messaging. Now, when it comes to growing your business organically, and especially growing your business those first initial 10K months and hitting those 10K months consistently, messaging is required. You're going to have to be connecting with those people that you're providing value to, building deeper relationships with them, having conversations with them, and offering calls to them to chat further about how you may be able to help support them in the problems that they're dealing with and providing solutions to those problems itself. The most common thing I see when it comes to these buckets here that we've gone over so far to start, aside from the money bucket, is really many people have this down for the most part. They're doing this. They're growing their audience. They're adding friends. They're doing it consistently. They're providing value. They're growing within their content. They're testing new things and rolling out new things. It may not be to the level they want yet, but they're doing it. And that's the most important thing. In order to get this down and get it flowing consistently and seamlessly, we just have to start by doing it. We have to get going. Many people are getting going with this, but they're neglecting this, and they're losing sight of the fact that in order to have a business, it has to have this. And the thing is, when we do that, we end up looking into this being the problem when it's really not the problem. So let's say we are growing our list. We're adding friends. We're bringing new people into our group if we have a group, or at the very least, we're growing our friends list. We're starting to provide some new value. We're rolling out some trainings, providing value to the people in those lists. If these people aren't converting into prospects or reaching out to us and having conversations with us, oftentimes we think, you know what? It has to be the groups that I'm adding friends from, or it has to be something else that this is off that's causing this to feel more difficult. When the reality is they just don't have this skill down yet, and they're not putting the emphasis that they need towards this bucket. So I encourage you guys, when you're thinking about these 4 buckets here, most people more than often think that this bucket's leaking, and they want to go and find new friends to add, or new groups to add friends from. They want to hone in on their target audience and make sure they have that perfect. And all that's important and fine, but the biggest thing is we have to give ourselves a chance. If we're bringing people into our audience, that's great. If we're providing value to them, great. But in order to really rule them out and say, you know what, these groups that I'm adding friends from aren't working, we have to give it a sufficient test, and we have to be connecting with those people in Messenger and inviting them to hop on calls with us and getting to know them more. As we chat with them on calls, we'll see if the people that we're speaking to are members of our ideal audience itself. If so, then our group's perfect, it's spot on. We just need to work on putting in more reps in this and repairing this bucket and repairing the leak so we can start converting more people that are in this list, that have been in this list for some time, that we provided value to, and turn them into a sales opportunity and close a sale. Does that make sense so far? Let me know in the comments. Let's pull up the last bucket here. Bucket number 4 is going to be money. So this is basically inviting prospects to your offer, asking them, hey, based on what we chatted about in today's call, I definitely think I could be of help. If you'd like, I can share more on what that looks like. Going over how you can help them, what that offer looks like, and inviting them to jump in to work with you. Extending an invitation to support them on their journey. That's all it is. Like we talked about in the previous 5-Minute Friday. Rather than just feeling as though this money thing is just asking for money and taking money from people, it's really just inviting them to work with you and inviting them to get support from you to resolve the problems that they're dealing with. It's opening up that relationship on a deeper level. And it's allowing you to provide solutions to them in ways that you couldn't before with your free value to help them grow at an even more fast and efficient manner. So when you look at these 4 buckets right now, those of you within your business right now, if you had to say, what bucket to you is leaking the most? What bucket to you deserves the most attention? Is your list at a spot where it's above 1,000 friends? You've been adding friends consistently. You've been doing that for some months now. You've been starting to provide some value, but maybe you're not having the the messenger conversations or connecting with as many people as you maybe need to, and you're not converting the sales that you want to. If this is the case, the emphasis should be going on one of these 2 buckets, not this bucket. If you're in the beginning stage where you're just starting to grow your audience, you haven't really provided much value, I would recommend to start at the top of the funnel first. But I know that many of you here in this group are beyond this. You have a list in a good spot. You have money that's sitting in your profile, in your friends list, in your Facebook group right now, and you're not extracting it. You're not extracting those opportunities to convert those list members into buyers and open up those opportunities to support them. So really, this isn't the problem. You're putting out some value. This isn't the problem either. More than anything, the problem lies within these two things. And if we're not converting leads to sales consistently, then we really need to focus on this money problem. And what directly correlates the money problem? Showing up consistently, having conversations, putting out offers to people, and putting ourselves in a position to create outcomes here. Because when we can start to create more consistent outcomes here, then we can optimize this process and look at this 4-bucket graph here as more of a CEO approach. Because at any point in time, there's always going to be one bucket that's leaking. Let's say you just wrapped up a new launch on a new product and you did have a bunch of conversations with people and you did make some money. So now maybe at this stage going into next month, your leaking bucket is going to be within value because you just ran a campaign, you just put out a bunch of offer-based posts, you had a bunch of sales conversations, and now you want to work to replenish that pipeline, replenish your audience, and really go back and provide deeper value to your list to bring new leads in and create new opportunities. But if you feel like you've been putting some focus on this for some time now, and if you feel like you've been starting to provide some value itself, I highly, highly encourage you to look into the revenue generating activities of your business, aka this area here that creates this money here. These 4 buckets are really here to help you guys kind of establish a focus aside from your daily non-negotiables. The point is when we're below 10K a month, we shouldn't be focused on too much. We should be simplifying our focus as much as possible. As we break past 10K months and get to 15K, 20K, 30K, this is where more variables come into play. And we're really honing more in on what inputs we're doing and how we can optimize those to make them work even more efficiently and smoother, adding in systems, repairing bottlenecks in the process, etc. But to start, we want to keep things as simple and basic as possible. And to me, a simple exercise like this where you can look at the core 4 buckets of your business and ask yourself which bucket you feel is leaking the most is enough to help us align the focus and really say, okay, aside from my daily non-negotiables that I'm doing every single day to put myself in the position that I need to grow my business and to grow my skills, I'm going to put extra emphasis this month on one of these 4 buckets based on where I'm at. So let me know in the comments what you feel that one of those 4 buckets is for you personally. But this doesn't mean that if your list bucket is leaking, that next month, the only focus that you should be doing is just growing your list and not doing anything within your business. This is where it comes back to what I like to call non-negotiables. Business RGAs or biz non-negotiables. So RGAs essentially meaning revenue generating activities or business non-negotiables, things that you do every single day to develop the skills that you need within your business and put yourself in a position to make the outcomes that you want to make happen. Inputs equal outcomes. If we just focus on this and making the money happen, we're not going to make the money happen. But when we look at the big picture like this and realize that in order to make money happen, it requires to have a list of people to talk to. It requires building trust and providing value. It requires having conversations and connecting with people and inviting them to chat with you to learn more about how you can help. All of these things help create this. And when it comes to activities within this, these should be the things that you're doing every single day to help create more of this. And aside from these non-negotiables, we can set areas of focus based on these 4 buckets where maybe we're having an additional activity that we're doing focused on that area. So let's just talk about some basic RGAs or non-negotiables. Let's say having X amount of conversations a day. Publishing contents. Providing value. Inviting people to calls. Presenting offers. This is really the core of what the focus should be every single day, because these outputs, or these inputs, I apologize, lead to the outputs that we want. If we're having conversations with people within our audience, especially with people that are already starting to trust us, that we built up some relationship with, if we're still consistently publishing content and providing value, and more importantly, if we're inviting people that we're having these conversations with to calls and presenting actual offers, inviting people to work with us, we will make sales. It may not happen right away, but we're going to get to the point where we develop the skills that we need, to the point where we can start to create predictable outcomes within our sales process. We can start to know, hey, it only takes me connecting with 10 people a day to convert 1 sale a week. Or it only takes me to connect with 5 people a day to convert 1 sale a week. As you grow and as you develop these skills, you'll be able to know black and white what it takes you to get X outcome. And this is where you can really start to create predictability within your process and know that if you simply show up and do these small activities every single day throughout the month, you will achieve X result or X outcome as a result of that. But that doesn't always happen right away when we're in that beginning stage, because we don't understand what we need to do, how much we need to do of it, and when we need to do it. We lack clarity on the what, the why, and the how. I think many of you guys know here on this live today that this is what it comes down to build a successful business. You have to have a list. You have to be providing value to that list and building trust. You have to be connecting with them, and you have to be converting sales and making money. Without this, we don't really have a true business. But use this as a foundation and balance for you to fall back on and look at the end of each month to ask yourself, which bucket in my business right now is leaking the most profit or the most money? And aside from these business or daily non-negotiables that I'm focused on, what can I add in for an extra activity each week to help start to repair this leak and fix this bucket as a whole, patch the leak? So maybe these are your big 3 goals every single day, is to accomplish these things. Invite X amount of offers a day, or ask X amount of offers a day, have X amount of conversations, publish once to your profile or once to your group. Perhaps you have an extra goal now within your big 3 goals of the day itself, and that extra goal could be around, let's say it's messaging. You're struggling with messenger conversations and connecting with people. This could be where you're maybe at doubling this and increasing this by 10 instead of 5. If your value bucket's leaking, maybe you're making it a goal to roll out 1 new free training a week. If your audience or list bucket is leaking, maybe you make it a goal to engage with target groups for 10 minutes a day. Or perhaps it could be simply doing 3 to 4 interviews in other groups a month. Extra things that we can do to help repair that leaking bucket aside from the non-negotiables that we committed to bring our goals to life. Now, the biggest problem that I see within, especially people that are at the 2K to 5K range, looking to get to 10K or even 5K and below, 0 to 5K, they're not consistent with these things. They don't know what numbers they need to hit with this. They don't know how many times they need to do it, what they need to do, and how consistent they need to be with it. And even if they do know what they need to hit and what they need to work towards with these daily non-negotiables, they're just not showing up and doing them consistently. And as a result, they're looking at the wrong buckets and they're trying to repair the wrong buckets, and it's causing results to come slower, frustration to come easier, and causing confusion as a whole within the process, because we feel like, you know what, I think my list bucket is leaking, I'm trying to repair this, but my money bucket's still staying the same. And the reason that happens is because we aren't aligned with these inputs here. We're not doing these effectively, we're not doing them consistently, and we're not showing up in the way that we need to. So it's my mission to help a few members in this group repair this. I'm not going to share a ton on this today, but what I'm considering doing right now is actually opening up a challenge for a subset of members in this group to not only help them align the focus and know exactly what they need to focus on based on the stage they're at with their business to get to 5K, 10K, 15K months, but to hold them accountable and give them a system that allows them to really make this effortless to be consistent with. We've been testing this behind the scenes with a small group of people over the last couple months. And the results have been pretty insane because we had members that took part in this that really came into it lacking consistency with what they were doing, lacking belief in presenting offers to people, not knowing when to present offers to people or how to do it. And really, this money bucket was basically non-existent. But we helped them align the focus in this challenge. We set key action items for them to focus on each and every day. And we gave them a workflow system around this to gamify the process so they could start having fun doing these things, growing, developing the skills, and proving to themselves how consistently they can show up and how that affects their outcomes. First week wasn't easy. Second week it got easier. And out of nowhere, things started to grow. Outcomes started to happen. Sales started to come in. And things started to become fun, all because they were showing up and doing the things they needed to do to create more consistency, to create deeper belief in themselves, confidence in their sales process, and ultimately to show up and do the things that are going to put them in a position to win. So it's my mission in this challenge, if we choose to continue on with this, is to help you guys in this group really not just create consistency within the inputs that you need to be consistent within to create the outcomes that you want, but to also create predictability within your process. So you know exactly what you need to do each day without any of the guesswork, and you can show up and start to effortlessly do those things and see the outcomes that come from that. For those that are interested in this, drop a hashtag challenge below, just to show me that you're interested. If we get enough interest, we'll talk more in the details in this and how you can take part in it. I want this to be something that isn't super expensive for you guys to take part in. I want it to be cheap, low cost, and an opportunity for you to really see the power behind what I'm talking about here. Because it's one thing to visually see these 4 buckets and see the core areas of business and what we need to be aware of and what we need to focus on. And it's one thing for me to list out what these business non-negotiables are. But it's a completely different ballgame when we start to actually set these non-negotiables around where you're at in your business, what you're working towards, what stage you're in. And we keep on you to show up and do these things every single day to show you the power behind consistency, repetition, and showing up doing the right activities in your business. Because at the end of the day, the point is, if you look at the difference between someone that grew from 0 to 10K in a more efficient time versus someone that stayed at 1K for 8 months to 2 years, the difference is what they're focused on. When we can focus on the right things and develop skills in the right areas, the sooner we can do that, the sooner we're basically stacking the deck in our favor and allowing for results to happen as a byproduct. But the more that we focus on the wrong things, we try to repair the wrong buckets, and we're not consistent with the things that we need to be consistent with, the more that we end up going day by day, guessing, trying to repair things that really is not making us progress in any way. If anything, it's pulling us backwards and slowing our growth above anything else. So in closing of today's presentation in this live, those of you that are interested in taking part in this challenge, let me know in the comments below, hashtag challenge below. And be prepared to, those that take part in it, if we choose to roll into it, to have a big month ahead. I guarantee those that do choose to join us in this will have more confidence, more belief, and greater outcomes than they've ever had before within their business. And they're going to create some pretty epic momentum because of that. We've already seen it come to life with the group that we've tested this with before. And I know that this is going to open up doors for many members in this group in ways they never saw before. And that's why I'm super excited to talk about this here today and invite a few of you here to the opportunity, those that are taking part in this live. But above anything else, for those that got value from this training today, hopefully I was able to provide some clarity on what we need to look for within our business, how we need to be aware of what bucket is leaking as a whole between list, value, messaging, and money, and how we can put extra emphasis on this aside from our business daily non-negotiables to really make sure that we're not having a bunch of buckets that are leaking and that we're always putting ourselves in position to create continuous growth in our business. With that said, I'm going to close out on today's lives. I got to jump to a call here shortly. But again, those that got value from this training, let me know, hashtag value below. Any questions on this and what I went over today, let me know in the comments below. I'll circle back after my call and answer those straight away today. And I will keep an eye out for those that comment with interest on this challenge. and expect to hear more on this if we do get enough interest itself. I want to help you guys create confidence and predictability within your business so you can confidently go out, invite people to your offers, get more yeses, and compound that into more and more outcomes and results for your business. With that said, thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next live. See you guys.